Okay, so I've just come out of the hearing. I was there for the full day until 4 p.m. It was definitely a long day. There was some very, very interesting developments. So I've got reams and reams of notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a little update for you guys right now. I'm outside with all the media. There's like a whole media circus going on out here right now. There's a lot. But anyway, I don't know what they got going on. But yeah, there was some huge updates, some crazy testimony. A whole bunch of people took the stand and gave evidence against David. His defense kind of grilled everybody that got on the stand. And I'll be honest with you, David's defense had some very, very good points. They had some very little sneaky maneuvers that they pulled. And there were some really, really interesting insights. So like I say, I'm probably going to need to go home and do like an hour-plus breakdown of all of my notes in one go, which I'm going to do for you guys next. It was just an insane amount of information. But really, it was kind of like 3 witnesses that took the stand. One of them was a sheriff who actually visited David's property when they were investigating the disappearance of Celeste back in February of 2024. That was essentially accompanied by body cam footage of that officer visiting David's home, questioning him about the disappearance of Celeste. I'll be honest with you, the body cam footage was disappointing, not in terms of it didn't show much, but it was disappointing in terms of it felt like the officers maybe could have done a little bit more to investigate. They kind of sort of, I don't want to say let David off the hook, but when they visited his property and kind of were asking about this missing minor, it was very surprising. They didn't really put it on him. We heard rumors that they had gone to his property and told him she's 13 and warned him. That's not really what we saw in that footage. I'm not trying to defend David by any means, but they basically went to his property, said, look, we're looking for this girl, is she here? They searched the property, she wasn't there. David, honestly, he seemed very nervous, and I'm not saying that he wasn't up to nothing dodgy, but he did kind of seem a little bit nervous, but he was forthcoming. He said, oh yeah, I know her. I thought she was 18. She told me that she was 18. Other people trying to tell me she's 13 now. He showed them a picture of her on his phone. He showed them the, it's been alleged that it's a yearbook photo, but it looked more just like a sort of random picture of her. And I'll give you some more detail about that picture later on, because I kind of wrote notes and described everything, but it was a lot. But that was kind of the first witness who basically, was on the stand and described going to David's property. We saw the body cam footage, and then David's defense, they kind of had a good little moment when they said, well, at no point did you say definitively that she's 13. I'm pretty sure the way that it was worded, he was kind of like, I think she might be 13. It wasn't clear. It wasn't definitive, and it made you think, damn, like, that's not quite what we thought that we was actually going to be hearing. So that one, I'm not going to lie, that it was definitely not good for David, but it was also, there were little holes that his defense poked into it, and they were doing a very good job of poking holes in things. Now, the next thing, we saw the full-blown LAPD robbery homicide detective that had been working on this case, who was basically on the scene, where the body was found in the Tesla. We did see pictures of what was left of Celeste. It's really, really horrible, and it was just heartbreaking to actually hear that testimony in court. It was honestly just sickening to see the footage of what was found in that car, to hear the testimony of the officer that actually dealt with that. It was just honestly just horrifying. That was extremely bad, and really that was kind of very, very damning. There wasn't really much to defend on that front, but what they did manage to do was the defense pointed out some very, very interesting holes in that basically timeline of when the body was discovered and recovered. They basically pointed out some inconsistencies with the fact that it was kind of a local police department that opened the Tesla, exposed the first bag. It was then the detectives from the robbery homicide division that then came and moved the first bag, discovered the second bag underneath it in the Tesla, and then it was the medical examiner that then came to the scene and was the only person authorized to touch the body. Now, one point that they made that was very, very interesting was they basically said, why didn't you keep the body bag? They never kept the body bag that Celeste was unfortunately found in. They basically disposed of it, and they disposed of, and it's disgusting to say, I'm so sorry to say this, but the liquefied remains that were inside that bag, they basically said we didn't really have the means to preserve that. That was unpreservable. What we did is we cut the handles off the body bag that might have had DNA on it, and we kept obviously the core remains, but they basically admit we don't have the body bag. I don't know where it is. They sort of said, oh, was it destroyed? And they said, oh, we wouldn't say destroyed, but it was not, we couldn't preserve it. It was just liquefied remains in a bag, in a mesh bag that was just, half a leftover garbage bag. It was not preservable. Now that unfortunately did look quite bad on the prosecution to sort of say, well, this is a really, really important thing. Why didn't you preserve it? And them arguing, well, we couldn't preserve it. It wasn't preservable. didn't really kind of land for some people. I feel like for a lot of people it felt like that really wasn't a good enough answer, and it sort of made you think, okay, there's some inconsistencies here. And I'll be honest with you, I think the prosecution had a pretty hard time when they started talking about all the evidence that was claimed from David's property. Now, I'm going to get into my notes in a later video. I'm going to do a full breakdown because I kind of laid everything down in my notes. I'm going to remember it a lot better when I look at my notes. I've just got out of the courthouse, but there was some pretty bad timeline stuff. So we've heard all these rumors of David had a chainsaw, he had multiple chainsaws in his property, but it turns out there were actually 3 chainsaws. There were 2 chainsaws that were ordered off Amazon that were found in his property, and neither of those had any DNA on it. Apparently neither of those had blood on them, neither of those actually had any of his DNA or his evidence on them, and you know, the cops ended up leaving them there. They talked about the burn cage, which wasn't used. They talked about not being able to find an apparent, you know, heat-proof mat that was ordered on Amazon, and really the alleged chainsaw that this dismemberment was allegedly carried out with apparently was never found, and it sounds like that was something that was Uber Eats or Postmates to him. He kind of ordered a shovel, this other chainsaw, and it did make you think, is this the play that he's going for? The actual chainsaw that he used has been vanished, has been disappeared, but the 2 chainsaws that they found in his property that he ordered off Amazon that didn't have any evidence on them that they were used in a crime. That really throws people off the scent, and it makes you wonder, okay, what do we actually have? They allegedly have the cadaver bags being ordered off Amazon, but they don't have the bags themselves. That evidence they said they wasn't able to preserve, so that doesn't really look too good. I was very surprised that we heard talk of all this searching going on in the property, but we didn't actually get a concrete confirmation. I didn't hear at any point them mention blood being found in the garage, which I thought was something that was going to be brought up. Maybe that's going to be brought up later. They did bring up the blue kiddie pool that was found in the garage, and they said they did recover that, and you know, the plastic pieces were, you know, found it's horrible to say, but lodged in the severance wounds on her limbs. But there were definitely a few things that just didn't quite add up. The fact that it was to find out these 2 chainsaws that we've been hearing about for so long hadn't been used in the dismemberment, that was very, very shocking, to be honest with you, and I feel like I was very, very surprised. And it sounds like the actual chainsaw that he used, he's managed to get, well, allegedly, or depending on what happened, we don't know for sure at this stage, it has to be allegedly, but whatever that chainsaw that was actually used to do this dismemberment is long gone, apparently. They haven't been able to recover that. That was very, very shocking, and I was really, really surprised to hear that. Now, after that, we heard some really, really interesting financial testimony from basically a financial manager of David that worked with Rob and Josh from Mogul Vision, and he had some very, very interesting points. Now, I've had a few people tell me, you know, they're trying to use that to establish a financial motive, that David was making millions of dollars. They're saying that between 2023 and 2025, David might have made something as much as $11.5 million from all of his career. They're saying that Mogul Vision might have made $3-4 million. So all of these hangers-ons, these people around David providing him services, were making millions of dollars, and so was he. And that testimony didn't completely finish, but there were some very, very interesting aspects of that. We heard a lot of details about how David's mother is very involved in his career. David's mother was being paid $75,000 a year to basically manage David's pay David's bills, manage his finances, and apparently she wasn't very good at it. The financial manager was saying we was trying to teach her QuickBooks, she wasn't getting it, she wasn't learning it, things weren't getting done when they were supposed to be done, and Colleen being his momager was not really the most helpful thing. So that was very interesting, and we did hear some very interesting, this really blew my mind. They said that after the body was found in the car, David's management team, even David's mother, they started communicating on encrypted messaging apps. They started communicating on Signal and WhatsApp instead of the traditional iMessage and FaceTime calling that apparently they had been doing up until that point, which, to be honest, was kind of damning. But as we found out in a lot of criminal cases recently, just because you're on Signal on WhatsApp and it's encrypted end to end, that doesn't necessarily mean the feds ain't going to be able to get hold of those messages. Doesn't necessarily mean that those accounts can't be compromised. There's still a lot of vulnerabilities, but the fact they were creeping around trying to get busy having their messages on Signal when the body was found, I feel like that said a lot. Now, we were really left on a cliffhanger because this guy that was kind of the financial manager that was testifying on the financial details of David's career, it got to 4 o'clock, the judge was like, I'm ready to go home, have some food. I kind of felt it too. I was feeling a little bit tired. The seats are so uncomfortable in there. But basically, that's what we were hearing, is that, all these different financial things were going on for David's career. He was making millions of dollars. He had all these people that were managing his finances, paying his bills, setting up his utilities. They said David's never seen a bill in his whole career. He ain't never seen an invoice. He doesn't know how any of that shit works. And really, it was just all of these people around him that were kind of making everything happen for him. and they were taking millions of dollars for the privilege of doing so. And there were a lot of very strange financial movements. We were hearing about how David's mother had, you know, moved the properties around. He had a trust with some properties in it. They were setting up new trusts, and it was basically said black and white that advice was given for David's mother to basically move the properties out of his name and into her name to avoid a civil suit being filed by Celeste's family so that they could actually get some money out of David for this horrific crime when things are all said and done. Much like in the OJ case, you know, the families of, you know, OJ's wife and, was it Ron Goldman, basically were able to get a lot of money from the OJ estate. They were even able to get the rights to his book, If I Did It. I don't know if we'll be hearing a David If I Did It book one of these days, but, you know, it really is not looking too good on the financial side. And it just goes to show just how many people were financially benefiting from David, were actually in his circle making millions of dollars, basically helping him manage his career, helping him with this whole, you know, success run that he was on. But we heard other things. We heard confirmation that when the cops seized his PC in his house when they searched it, they found the flight tickets. Them same flight tickets we've been talking about in that last video that got removed. That was real, all right? We already confirmed that was real on the United website, but they confirmed it was real. They said there were numerous flights, even flights that we didn't see in the ticket, flights from LA to Houston, as well as the flight from LA to London. That was confirmed in the courtroom. Fact, really happened, was really booking them flights. So really, we're waiting to hear more about, you know, people in his team, what the day-to-day situation was like. No doubt they're gonna ask his financial manager if he'd, you know, approved flights for this minor that he was apparently flying around, that we've confirmed the tickets are real. There was a very also interesting back and forth with the main detective on the case from the robbery homicide division. He kind of put his foot in it a little bit, where he basically said, we use this service to download all the information from an iCloud account or from an iPhone. You know, it's basically a top level, we can subpoena Apple and make them give us all the information from a phone. It sounds like he messed up, because they basically said we seized the phone from David's house and they thought it was Celeste's phone. And basically what they were saying is, how did you know that it was an iPhone 15 Pro? And he's saying, oh, we didn't know until we, you know, subpoenaed it and got all the information from the back end. And then they're saying, well, when you requested that information, you seem to know it was an iPhone 15 Pro, and you seem to know that it was connected to Celeste's iCloud. So it was like the fact that David had allegedly been found with an iPhone in his house when they searched it that belonged to Celeste. They was basically trying to like turn it back on them and say, well, you were making presumptions about this evidence before you actually got the information from it, and there wasn't really a concrete answer for that. So I would say David's defense were very powerful. They really poked a lot of holes in everything that came up. I was honestly shocked, because one minute you would hear something from the prosecution, you'd think, damn, that's horrendous, he's cooked, no way there's an answer for that. And then suddenly, before you know it, I couldn't believe it when they said it. Those two, because they said all this stuff he's ordered from Amazon. He's ordered body bags, he's ordered chainsaws, he's ordered heat-proof mats. All of this stuff he's ordered from Amazon, and then the next thing you know, the defense is saying, was there any blood found on those chainsaws? No. Did you ever find these shovels? No. Did you ever find these body bags? They weren't preserved. And you're kind of thinking, okay, that's not making me necessarily believe he's innocent, but it's definitely making me think that maybe some mistakes were made, maybe some T's weren't crossed, some I's weren't dotted, and that's definitely going to work in his defense. So it was very shocking. But look, I'm down here. I'm probably going to head back home, do a bigger breakdown with all of my notes. I might even upload all of my notes somewhere. I might put it on something. I think I can upload documents to like my free Patreon or something, so I can put it on there for everyone to read. But there's like a lot. There's like I made loads of notes. I literally had to, my fingers are aching, all right? But I'm gonna basically break it all down. I'll do a full video. I might do maybe a couple of different videos on different topics or different witnesses, because I separated them differently. But it was crazy. There was some very big moments. There was grand jury transcripts that were brought up. Obviously, those have been sealed, but the Deputy DA, Beth Silverman, brought up the grand jury transcripts a couple of times, and the David's financial manager, he said a few things that didn't quite add up. There were a few things that he said, and they said, well, that's not what you told the grand jury. And it was very interesting. So I don't know if there's going to be like a press conference or something going on behind me. The main DA did actually speak earlier on when I was out here. This is a bunch of people down there. I don't even know if you can see that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys this upload. I'm probably going to go home, do a whole bunch of notes. There were a couple other topics I wanted to get to today. There's another Andrew Tate update with his case that he's got going on. A whole bunch of madness going on out here in all these different courthouses, and there's going to be some Lil Durk updates coming soon. So I'm going to keep you guys involved in everything that I've got going on at all the different courthouses, all the different cases. You know what I'm saying? Most of them, maybe except for one. Maybe we're going to strike one off the list. But anyway, we will keep you guys updated on everything that's going on. But yeah, I appreciate you guys trusting me with this. I'm going to try and get in tomorrow, but obviously it was complete luck that I got in there today. I didn't win the raffle, but I managed to get in on a media standby list. Very grateful to everybody working at the courthouse for being really fair and being really on it. For anybody that didn't make it, any mainstream media that didn't make it, they gave the independent journalists a chance to get in there and get a seat. So I'm so grateful for that. Really, really respect how they run everything at the courthouse. It is absolutely like incredible. Just such a tight ship that they run here. So utmost respect for everybody working here. Really amazing building, really amazing people, very, very fair, very open. A lot of people were worried and disappointed at how it was going to go down, but when I turned up today, it was run very, very, very professionally. And even though I didn't win the raffle, you know what I'm saying, I was able to get an opportunity when there was a space. It wasn't like they completely gatekept the whole thing. I'm going to try again tomorrow. If I don't get in, at least I know that they are very fair and that I tried my best. Sounds like there was a little bit of drama with SF Investigates. I wasn't there to see it, but some people told me that he had a tense interaction with Beth Silverman outside the courthouse, which is strange because I would have thought they're kind of on the same side, but they have a beef going back to the grand jury. And, you know, he was kind of handed a bit of paper telling him that he was in trouble at a certain point, and I don't think they were too happy with him. So I don't know if I'm on the Beth Silverman op list. I hope not, because I really respect what she's doing in there, and she's doing an amazing job. But apparently her and Steve had a little confrontation. He mentioned it on Twitter. He was talking to apparently Celeste family lawyer, and they were kind of giving him some positive feedback, and Beth kind of stepped in and said, nah, you don't want to be talking to this guy. Apparently, that's what he said on Twitter. Someone else told me that happened. Sounded crazy. Respect to Steve. I did get a chance to speak to Steve today. Really great guy, really, really interesting insights. He was telling me about some of the other stuff that he's working on that's, you know, not on this social media side of things, the things that he works on offline. And I've got just the utmost respect for the guy. So I know a lot of people have kind of had their controversies about him. But when I spoke to him face-to-face, one-to-one, you know, he had very interesting answers for everything that I asked him. Very respectful, very positive guy. And he's been really locked in with this case from day one. And as I just told you, maybe the deputy DA doesn't like him, but apparently Celeste family lawyer, they actually respect him. They like the awareness that he's bringing to the case. They think he's doing a positive thing, so you got to kind of respect it and you know, admire what he's doing. I respect that too, and you know, I'm just trying to do the same thing. I'm sure, you know, there's always ups and downs with this stuff. Sometimes people say the wrong thing, they offend the wrong people. It does happen. I know that sounds like Steve maybe pissed off a few people, the powers that be, at a certain point. But anyway, just want to say thank you to everybody in the courthouse today. Thank you to everyone on my team. Thank you to my whole crew, my editors that have been helping me behind the scenes. It's been a really hectic day. It's been really stressful. And everyone that helped me out, everybody that came down to the courthouse to give me a hand. Just really, really grateful, because it was a lot, and we managed to get in there and get the updates. And we're out here with the news. I see 5 Live in the back there and all that stuff. So it's really, really interesting. Basically waiting for a major update. I don't know what's going on with the news. I don't know if this is some kind of press conference already started. I might have already missed it. Maybe I could go over there and find out and see what's going on. But these are like proper, this is like the real news over here. Let's go have a look. I'll go have a little look, see, and then if this is no good, I'll wrap it up there. But as you can see, there's kind of like a big press and media presence out here. A lot going on, a lot of different media, reporters, journalists, all that kind of thing out here. Got the real news, not us YouTube clowns, you know, the real deal. But I think there might be a little press conference going on over here, so I'll try and get you a little glimpse of that. Let's see.
Something that we're going to look at. I'm a wrongful death attorney, and so a family look at potential wrongful death against David. So I can't really comment on the criminal evidence. You have questions about that. That's just
there were 3 people with the family. It was a third person, Celeste's sister?
No, it was an interpreter.
So it was the parents. It was the parents. Excuse me, were there other family members? Sorry,
no. The brother is, he's in the military, he's and the sister. It's just, everyone wants to participate, but it's just so painful to sit there.
That they'll speak to us at any point? Do you think that they'll speak about Celeste and what?
I don't think so. They're an extremely quiet family, and they just, it's a parent's worst, absolute worst nightmare. they're not comfortable with anything, and just because of them being such a part of the statements, I'd encourage them if they want to make a statement.
How aware were the family aware of David and her relationship? How aware?
Well, that is evidence that's going to come out in the criminal case. And so, as a wrongful death attorney, my focus is on law, the lawsuit. Any criminal evidence that may come out, it's not my place to comment on criminal evidence involving a first-degree murder case. Thank you.
I saw
Can we
that the
please
dad-
have your name for the record, your first name, your
It's Thomas Bentley, last name is Steinfeld. That's spelled like Jerry Seinfeld with the T, so it's Steinfeld.
and you are representing the family.
I'm the wrongful death attorney, and they brought me in to investigate whether or not there's any civil claims that can be brought against David Andrew Byrne. So I'm advising them as to their legal rights and what involving this criminal investigation.
How are they doing listening to this? I mean, we're looking at them looking at these images, and it's
They're
just,
not doing well at all. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely horrible for them to sit through this, but they wanted to sit through this process, and they wanted to observe it because they want to show their support and their love for Celeste until there's final
The
judgment.
dad was looking at this because I saw him and he was looking straight at it.
Right, and I told him he didn't have to do that. And I told both of them, you don't have to sit through this procedure. And because we had staff here to take care of them and stay with them, and they decided that they wanted to sit through it. I was surprised, actually. I thought Celeste would just last until the first few. Mercedes would last for the first few pictures. And would excuse herself, but she stayed through the whole process. But she had her head down and was crying pretty much most of the time.
And Patrick, I was sitting right behind their parents. I mean, how did your father react when finally he was talking about getting in contact with the dentist? I mean, that was to identify them, to compare dental records.
I know. It's unreal. It's one thing when you hear about it on the news, and it's another thing when you're in the courtroom and you're listening to it in detail. And they were shocked by a lot of the testimony that they heard.
How do you
this
prepare
morning.
clients to hear something like that?
Well, you tell them what they can expect to hear, and but I'm there to support them and try to comfort them and give them as much information as they need and give them the grace to make whatever decisions they want. If they want to stay, they can stay. If they want to make a statement, they can make a statement, but I'm not going to force them.
What do
When
you
will
think
you
is
decide
one
to
of
file the
those
civil
detectives?
matter? When would that determination be made?
Usually it's after the criminal law. Criminal case is completed.
One of the detectives said that.
In the courtroom right there.
Yeah.
They didn't even look at it. They didn't want to look at it.
Can you discuss how gruesome the images were today? People were actually wearing the courtroom.
Can I explain it?
So can you discuss like the reaction people seen in the courtroom with this?
For someone who didn't see it.
People who can't
What was
go.
it like?
Well, a major part of her body was liquefied, and so they would say that this is her arms and legs, and you could not tell that it was arms and legs. This was her head, and you could not tell that it was her head. And so it was horrible. So we're going to be here tomorrow, and I'll be happy to make some comments tomorrow. And I
Quick
appreciate.
question. One of the detectives said he was not able to communicate with the father because he doesn't speak English.
Yes.
So did they understand what was being said today?
There was an interpreter that was provided by the district attorney's office, so everything's being interpreted to them so they understand what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay. Patrick, stop. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Wow.
Did you hear?
I'm here with Mark. I'm still filming, by the way. So yeah. Do you wanna say anything to the people? Let me just put a mic on you. But obviously, we just heard from I guess the family attorney for Celeste's family, right?
Yeah. Did you hear Beth Silverman tell the family lawyer not to speak with SF investigators?
I did. Yeah, I saw his tweet about it. I didn't see it happen live, but I did see his tweet about it. You actually saw it happen? What happened?
Yeah. She just said don't. She pointed at it. She's like, don't talk to this guy. And I'm like, who's this guy? And she said, she said SF investigates. Do not talk to him because he's been talking crap about the family and about their parenting. So I wanted to ask him about that, but
I don't know if he has been. I haven't seen him.
But that
talk
was
too much
from
crap.
Beth. Yeah, I'm just reporting. I'm just reporting it.
I've defended the family a lot. A lot of people have talked crap about the family, especially on Reddit. I personally think there's been a behind-the-scenes hate campaign against the family to try and push the blame away from the man in the orange jumpsuit.
Yeah.
So I really don't respect anyone doing that. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think Steve had necessarily talked too bad about the family. He might have maybe reacted to some comments of that sort. But as far as I'm aware, his heart's kind of.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised, and I've actually congratulated SF Investigates with keeping up with the investigation. So that did shock me to hear that from the prosecution about a private investigator journalism, somebody that's reporting, do not talk to this guy. And then it's just, I don't know, that was pretty shocking to me.
I think he had a little beef with them from way back when the grand jury was going on, right? Because I think there was some controversy about he had shared some information that maybe wasn't supposed to be shared yet or something like that. They said that they hauled him in for a kind of private discussion. He was handed a piece of paper and summoned to court. Apparently he didn't go.
On a
so maybe it was about that.
Right?
Like half a napkin or something like that. I see him tweet the handwritten note. Hopefully I don't get a handwritten note from Beth Silverman anytime soon.
I hope
Hopefully
so
I'm
too, because I'm not showing up either.
Yeah, I mean, she's fearsome. I wouldn't want to be in front of her, to be honest.
Dude, she was brutal today, and she was actually commanding the courtroom.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think she was, but I do think that there were definitely a few points of contention. I think that, Blair Burke kind of did point a few holes out in a few things. I was very shocked to find out that there wasn't any blood or DNA on those chainsaws they found. It sounds like the chainsaw used for the dismemberment wasn't found. That kind of differed from maybe some of the media reporting that we got beforehand. I do think that it was very, very interesting when they kind of, pointed out that when they visited David's house and told him that Celeste was missing. We'd heard they'd gone to his house and warned him and told him she was a minor. This time it sounded a lot more like they were like, oh, she might be, we're just checking. And he said, I thought she was 8. She told me she was 18. So that kind of I'm not going to lie, that just played out differently to what I was expecting. And I felt like it kind of gave them a few little points that they could kind of argue on. So I was shocked, honestly.
I mean, the defense was pretty. I wasn't impressed. Not even one bit.
No,
not one bit for that amount of money, for that powerhouse of attorneys, lawyers. I felt, in my opinion, that they were just grasping at straws. Nothing was there, man. Nothing to me.
Yeah.
To me, I was there. I was listening to it, and to me, I'm like, this is it. I mean, you got to fight for your client. He's death penalty eligible.
Yeah.
These are not misdemeanors. These are felonies, murder, being with a minor, dismemberment. You got to fight for your client, man, for that type of money. And it seemed like they were going around in circles a little bit.
Maybe that was the best they could do at the time. I agree that I feel like the points that they raised did surprise me. I wouldn't have said that it was a win for them in court today by any means. I would say that they raised a few points that definitely kind of caught me thinking like, okay, they might have a few little excuses. Definitely little things that stood out to me. The fact that they didn't preserve the body bags. Again, it's a minor thing, but it was just kind of like, why wouldn't you preserve that? They said, we couldn't preserve them. It's kind of like, well, why? What's stopping you? That seems like something important, especially when you're saying we've just been shown a whole bunch of his whole Amazon order history, 2 chainsaws, 2 body bags, and then you're telling me those chainsaws didn't have blood on them, and those body bags, we got rid of them and we just kept the handles. Again, that doesn't give him a full bulletproof defense, but I just did feel a little bit like, okay, why didn't you keep those things? That was a little bit, it definitely added a little bit of doubt, and this is all about, creating a reasonable doubt. I feel like it added a small element of doubt that I think some people could latch onto, but I do agree, I don't think it was a win for them today by any means, but yeah, maybe if the millions of dollars that he's paying for this defense, that's the best they could come up with. I don't know if that's going to work out too well.
Not too well, man, but I gotta get going. I'm gonna go grab some food. I don't know if you want to grab some food or something.
Yeah, I'll be down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just wrap up this broadcast, but thank you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
No rush.
All right, so look, that is basically Mark's perspective. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Obviously, we did just speak to, well, we didn't speak to, but we just heard from the family lawyer for Celeste family. I think he is actually still speaking over here to some other reporters, but we're going to let him do his thing. But yeah, there's a lot of activity going on out here today, so very thankful that we got in. I'm going to wrap it up there. What I'm going to do is maybe I'll grab a bite to eat with Mark, or go home, put together a whole breakdown with all of my notes. Hopefully it's not too much more than an hour. I've got a lot of notes. I don't know if I should maybe split it up into a few different topics. I might even just upload my full notes. If anybody wants to actually sit and read the whole thing, let me know. Let me know if you want to see that. Hopefully the little broadcast that we did earlier made its way to you guys. I kind of filmed that, sent that to my editors, ran into the courthouse, tried to get my seat, came back out. They said they uploaded it. I haven't even checked, so I need to just follow up. But thank you so much for everybody for your support. It's been a crazy day, first day of the preliminaries for the David hearings. And yeah, very, very surprising some of the information we've got. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next upload. I'll do a full breakdown of all my notes, and that is gonna be very interesting. All of the little minute details I was typing at ungodly speed, okay? So I will get you absolutely everything. I won't leave anything out of it. I'll give you everything that I got in my notes today, and you can tell me what you guys think. So yeah, I hope you appreciate that, and I will continue reporting from here tomorrow, hopefully from inside. If not, I will be going live.